as long as it's kind of a grasping, needing energy, it
Yeah.
actually pushes the baby away further.
Mhm.
Whereas if you allow yourself to just be open to it and come what may, and you being so full in your current life without the baby, then the baby's just attracted to you.
Hi, ladies. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Helen. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. I started my YouTube channel just last year as I was beginning my IVF journey out here abroad in Korea. I actually live in the States, but I traveled to Korea in order to get treatments because of the high quality of care here, as well as the affordability. And so I am documenting and sharing my journey with everybody in the hopes that you feel a little less alone as you go through this. And hopefully, you can get some information that will be helpful for you in your journey. In my fertility journey, which has been quite long so far, I have done everything that I can on the medical and physical side to get the best results. So I'm on a fertility diet, I'm on high quality supplements, I exercise regularly, I see the best doctor for low AMH patients like myself and advanced maternal age. So I'm doing everything that I can on the physical side. But this journey can be so tumultuous for some of us. I mean, I've had my fair share of depressions along the way. I've lost some embryos, I've had miscarriages. So it hasn't been the smoothest ride, to say the least. And in order to survive the marathon, you kind of have to have the right heart and mind for it. You also need to have the right energy in order to keep moving forward and not feel so defeated every single time that something bad happens. So today, I have something really special for you. I recently had a one-on-one conversation with a baby manifesting coach. Her name is Julie Zhenning. She is really something. Jenny works with a lot of women in their late 30s as well as their 40s, mostly women in their 40s, and some even in their 50s, in order to help them prepare spiritually and energetically to receive their baby. And I felt that this conversation was so insightful and helpful. I feel like she really explained some of the nuances of having that right mindset in this journey and really manifesting your baby. So grab a pen and paper. I mean, there's so many golden nuggets in our conversation, and I really truly hope that she can help you the way that I feel like she's helped me. I
Okay.
started IVF 2023, so the beginning of
Wow.
last year.
Okay.
And
So it's been like a year and a
yeah,
half to almost 2 years.
yeah, it's been about 2 years almost.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 41.
Okay.
I had just turned 40 when I started this journey. My fertility journey itself, I started when I was like 30, 37. Yeah,
Oh,
37
so
and 30.
you've been actively trying since 37, and then the IVF came in about a couple of years ago, a year and a half
Yeah,
ago. Is that what you mean? Oh, okay.
yeah. I didn't know how to actively try. I thought that not trying was, was good enough,
Mm-hmm.
but I was clearly wrong. And then I got my fertility hormones tested and realized that my AMH was super, super low
Okay.
and that my FSH was slightly high. And so I realized that my fertility runway was very short.
Mm.
And that's when I was like, okay, I don't want to waste any time. I just want to go get IVF. And I was looking into different clinics in the States,
Mm-hmm.
but it's actually really expensive in
Very,
the States.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 25,000 per cycle.
On average. The
Yeah.
clinics that I went to and had a consultation at were like 30K.
Mm.
And some of them were like 50K. It was pretty insane. This is including meds, but
Wow.
it was just way too expensive. And so I ended up looking into Korea, where I'm originally from.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's a Korean citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so we found out that we were able to get like some
support from the government and things like that.
Awesome.
And even without government support, even without insurance, it was like $6,000 to $7,000 per cycle.
Yeah.
And
That's
just,
about like, I think that's even less than insemination cycles in the US.
UIs.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's so much cheaper there.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a really great opportunity for us to go get IVF in Korea. And that's when I started my YouTube channel, just to share everything with everybody, because, you know, it's also kind of like an outlet, I guess, you know.
Sure. To process everything? Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot, right? It's a lot having to go to a different country.
So are you living there, not permanently, but while you're doing this, or are you traveling back and forth?
I'm traveling back and forth. So I'm mostly living in Korea, but my residence is in the States.
Oh, where in the States?
I'm in California, in the Bay Area.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then so is your husband traveling back and forth with you?
So he has a job in the States. He does work remote, but he's needed once in a while in the office. And so he can't completely up and move here like I can. He just comes when he's able to.
Yeah.
Right now he's with me. We froze his sperm at our current clinic.
Sure.
And so he's able to just kind of go back and forth freely.
So how many cycles have you done?
Oh my goodness. I've done 10 rounds of egg retrievals.
Is this low stem or is this?
No.
Is regular dosing? Like regular. I guess regular in terms of US standards, but I don't know what regular is would be Korean standards.
Regular. It was regular. Last year it was regular. I mean, even with my low AMH, they realized that, oh, okay, you respond really well to the meds. And so they gave me a regular dose, and I was able to produce more follicles that way.
Okay.
Last year that worked, but this year, 1 year later, everything changed. My ovaries are just not responding the same way.
Oh, I see.
Everything's changed at the beginning of this year, because last year I had collected 7 embryos throughout the whole year doing egg retrievals. And then this year I had transfers. So the embryo transfers happened earlier this year. And I had 3 back-to-back transfers, and all of them, you know, they didn't work out.
So, 1 or 2 embryos?
2 embryos each time.
Okay.
And the first 2 transfers, I had chemical pregnancies.
Okay.
And so it actually did stick in the beginning, but then, you know, it went away. Yeah. And then the third time, nothing happens. The third time, I actually had 3 embryos, but none of them stuck either.
Okay.
And then my hormones, my ovaries, on the ultrasound, they weren't looking very good. So the doctor was like, hey, let's just take a break.
Yeah.
And so I went back to the States and took a break for a while. And now I'm back trying to make more embryos. I'm on my 11th round right now.
Okay. And then so do you have any frozen embryos left, or you're starting fresh with this new one?
I started with round 9 when I got back in September. So I have a couple of embryos frozen, but like I said, my ovaries are kind of not responding to the meds like they used to. So that's been kind of an issue.
How many eggs were they able to retrieve with the first few rounds? What was the progress like?
When I got back, not good. During my 9th round, I actually had, oh my gosh, they're all getting mixed up in my head now because I've had so many. I think I had 3 eggs retrieved. One of them turned into an embryo, and then we froze that embryo. But it's a day 3.
Day 3.
Yeah, for some reason it's harder for me to make day 5s now. And my doctor just says that my ovarian function has declined drastically since last year. During my 10th round, we started out with 3, and then throughout the course of stimulation, 2 went away, and then we were like, okay, we only see 1, but let's just go for it. and we did the egg retrieval, and the follicle was empty. And right now I'm on stims for my 11th. So if I sound scatterbrained or if I sound like not organized, I'm on so many meds
Yeah,
right now.
I can understand. Yeah.
Forgive me.
Yeah. No worries. I mean, you're very coherent. So how many right now do they see at baseline?
They saw 2. I did get ovarian PRP not too long ago. So I don't know if I should really hope for anything with that, but yeah, I got PRP. I'm doing everything that I can.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You're doing everything on the medical side. So you might
Yeah.
want to layer on the more kind of the mental, spiritual aspect to round out your approach.
Everything in my life right now is IVF, right?
Yeah.
So my YouTube channel is IVF. The business that I have is about IVF, helping other women get IVF in Korea. And then, I'm getting IVF too. So everything is IVF right now. And I almost feel like maybe I'm identifying a little bit too much with IVF. And I need to get into that place of identifying more with being a mother. And
yeah,
I have all the right answers. It's just, I don't know how to.
Yeah, you do have the right answers. You just maybe need to practice it a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But I thought it would be good to share this with my audience too, because, a lot of them are like me. They are chronic researchers, they study everything, they know all the details, they're giving me advice. But maybe we need to get into that right place mentally.
It's for a lot of people, it's about zooming out rather than zooming in, because I think people get a little bit too much in the weeds of it and try to micromanage and control a lot of the aspects of it, which is, it's understandable because if you feel much more in control that way. And that's kind of how, we're taught, right? To be very purposeful, very logical. So I just try to give a different perspective. And then if it resonates with people, then to kind of do more of it, to add a little bit more of this spiritual aspect in. So yeah, I'll be happy to talk about it.
Yeah. I think we can first talk about what your definition of baby manifesting is. How do you help women? How can you explain what this is and clarify any of the misconceptions?
Okay, so for me, baby manifesting is a holistic approach to fertility that really works on aligning the mind, body, and spirit, because people tend to have a huge focus on just the body aspect, the physical aspect. And so with manifestation, we want to look also at the emotional aspect and the mindset, and also the spiritual readiness. And it's really to create a welcoming space for a baby. So it's going to involve very intentional practices like meditation. Releasing limiting beliefs is a huge one, especially for the group of women that I typically work with, which are women over 40 or women in their late 30s, but they've been diagnosed with low ovarian reserve or poor egg quality. It seems to be that women are getting diagnosed with that at younger and younger ages. So it affects younger women now as well. It also is, important for women who have had medical diagnosis where it seems like it's going to make it difficult to get pregnant, maybe like endometriosis or fibroids or something like that, or who have had a past history where it failed fertility treatments or pregnancy losses. And so because of that kind of constellation of events, it can create a lot of limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns. And so we want to be able to shift that mindset and shift the emotional atmosphere in order for the woman to be able to connect more deeply with her body and also with her baby. And so in connecting with her body, it's going to allow her to tap into the body's wisdom, into her intuition. And so that way she can be guided by that and not look so much towards the outside for the answers. because in doing manifestation work or energy work, we always believe that you have the answers already within you. And so it's just really a matter of being able to reveal those answers in time. And that's really why it's a journey. I really tell women this, you're in it think of it as a marathon. These aren't 28-day sprints or, however long their cycles are, or sprints from one fertility treatment to the other. This is, you want to be in it for the long game, right? So that's connecting with the body, connecting with their intuition. And then they also have the ability to connect with the soul of their baby, which, we often call spirit baby. And that can be also really helpful to provide reassurance, because especially for women in their 40s or who've been having troubles, challenges, they're not sure if there's even a baby for them. Like, have they aged out of it, or has it been too long, and all of that, right? So connecting with their spirit baby can be quite reassuring and comforting to know that the baby is there. And also sometimes the baby can provide guidance, which is really amazing as well, in order to get pregnant. And so it's a process that can start, way before conception. So baby manifesting, it's really about teaching the future mother to align with the energy of the baby and creating that a really very loving and safe space for the baby to transition from spirit into the physical dimension. Because like I said, the baby's already here. It's the soul, it's in spirit. And so just like any baby thrives in a loving, supportive, safe space, your body is your baby's home for 9 months. So it needs to feel that way for them to be, in order to want to come in and be able to stay in as well. Because it's not just about getting pregnant, it's also about having a healthy pregnancy that goes to term, right, after 9 months. And so we're not just focused on that positive pregnancy test. We want to make sure that the entire journey is healthy and is safe and is productive. And so I guess in a nutshell, that's what baby manifesting is, in the way that I approach it.
I have a question. So I do understand this idea of speaking to your spirit baby and having a spirit baby and connecting with your spirit baby, and it just brings you to a place of more calm and readiness. For people who are less spiritual, how can they think about this? Because this concept can seem a little woo-woo to them, I guess. And I feel like it is very practical, actually, even for people who aren't super spiritual.
So for those who are uncomfortable with the idea of connecting with spirit, I would start first by connecting with your intuition, right? And connecting with your body. So I think for everyone, I think that connecting with their intuition is something that they can accept very readily, right? And so understanding that intuition is the greater part of us, right? Only a small fraction of our soul is focused into the physical human body, and there's that saying of we're spiritual beings having a human experience, rather than the other way around of we're humans having a spiritual experience. So we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So in tapping into the intuition, we're connecting with that greater part of our soul. And when they start getting more comfortable with connecting and listening to their intuition, then they are able to accept more readily the idea of spirit baby. The other concept too that I also invite people to think about as well is your body has an innate wisdom, right? That's why the heart beats, you breathe, you are able to extract oxygen from the air without you having to think about it. It has its own blueprint, its own innate wisdom. And to be able to connect with your body at that level also helps to prepare you to think about, oh yeah, there might be a spirit baby, a soul for me to connect to. And it's, for a lot of people, it is a gradual process. To be honest, from what I've seen with my clients is, I think they've done so much at a physical 3D level, and they realize there's something missing. Like, they've explored every single opportunity that's available to them, medical treatments, just like you. but it's still not working. Why isn't it working? And then that's when they start to become more open to the idea of involving spirit into this part of the journey. And so it becomes more of a process than like me saying you have to believe in a spirit baby, because it's kind of hard to swallow if it's something that like you've only been exposed to, like this is your first time. There's actually a book called Spirit Babies by Walter Macachin, and I kind of think of him as the front runner, the pioneer of talking about spirit babies, and it's a really popular book. And so that helps to introduce people to the concept of spirit babies. So I really recommend that book as a first run, just to get familiar.
I would consider myself pretty spiritual. So for me, you know, I definitely understand the concept of a spirit baby. After my transfers failed and all the embryos that I had collected last year were gone, they were all losses, right? I did have a little ceremony at the beach with my husband. We wrote letters to our spirit babies and then we burned it at the beach and then kind of go, because I really needed some kind of memorial or an event to let them go.
Yeah.
And in my letter, I told my spirit babies, I love you and I will understand if you don't come to me, but I really hope that you do come to me. I have tried in my own way to connect with them. What would you say is something that we can do to connect with our spirit babies? Just small practices.
Yeah, so the one that I teach my clients is to do a meditation. And it's a very simple meditation of you just close your eyes and you just allow your body to relax. And then you just send out the invitation. It's very simple. It's just, I invite my spirit baby to come in. And a lot of times it doesn't happen with every person. It just, you know, and so it's difficult to say what anyone's experience is going to be like because it's unique for each person. So a lot of people, once they send out the invitation, the baby soul comes in. Like it comes very vividly. It's almost like a mini movie in their inner mind. And then for some, it's a little bit less tangible, where it's more of a sensation of, oh, there's a different energy within my mental space. And then for others, you know, it may take a few times for them to even kind of connect with that feeling. And so I would say most people will feel some sort of shift when they do a meditation, and it doesn't need to take long. It can just take 5 minutes, really, even less than that, where they just sit quietly and then just very deliberately and very intentionally just invite their spirit baby to come in. And then however they come in, just meet them at where they are at. So some babies, it's because it's very personality driven, right? So some babies are just going to be more boisterous, just more kind of bouncy and very energetic. And then for those type of babies, then you can greet them in a matching tone. Whereas some babies are going to be more reserved and a little bit more hesitant to come forward. And then in those instances, I would just meet them where they are at. It's like, hey, I'm here for you. When you are comfortable, just come closer to me so I can see you more. And so that's what you would do in the meditation. You just kind of have a conversation with them. Just like you and I are having a conversation, you would be having the same conversation just in your mental meditation space. You can just kind of go about your day and just like, hey, baby, what do you think of this? And then, you know, so some people are more psychically gifted and they can just do that. Whereas most people need to be more intentional, create a space of calm and serenity. And the reason is because their minds are just kind of being very active. And so you need to settle your mind enough in order to be able to connect with spirit. So when I'm working with clients, obviously I need to understand where they're coming from, right? I need to know where they are and what they've done on their motherhood journey in order for me just to kind of get a rough idea as to where they are. But the most important thing that I'm looking for is their mindset and their emotional challenges, because that's really what we need to address in terms of becoming more receptive to their baby. And so oftentimes, like I said, because of the demographics, the type of women that I'm working with, usually women over 40, There are a lot of limiting beliefs, either from their personal experiences or they're getting it from media, from their doctors. And so I need to kind of assess where they are in that regard, in that area. And so this way we can start addressing them and really dissolving a lot of those fears and those limiting beliefs and the negative thoughts, because those fears and those negative thoughts, it's at a different frequency as from the baby. So the way that I explain it is that your baby is pure love, right? It's just it's unconditional love. That's where they are. That is their frequency. So it's a very high frequency. And so it's like they're on one radio station, like, I don't know, 98.7 FM. But if someone's dwelling in a lot of fear, a lot of doubt, frustration, or anxiety, then that frequency isn't a match. It's completely different to where the baby is at. So they would be like on AM, like, you know, whatever the AM stations are, they're like on AM. They're completely, they're just not a match. And so then part of the work is to help them recognize that it's because of these negative thoughts, patterns, the limiting beliefs that are really lowering their frequency. And we need to be able to dissolve them, because our natural frequential state is that of love. That's how we all came in, right? I mean, if you think about babies, they're all like, we all love them, because how can you not love them? We all came in that way. But our frequencies started getting lower because we got influenced by society, by teachers, by our parents, by, you know, people of authority, blah, blah, blah. And so then we started thinking about restrictions and starting becoming more fearful. And so it started to tamp down on our natural frequency. And so we need to release that in order to rise to the frequency of where the baby is. And so that's really kind of the important work.
How do we release it?
Well, I mean, part of it is reframing. That's a really common technique that I encourage women to work on. Is number one is just accepting the journey where they are, right? Because a lot of people are fighting it because they're saying this shouldn't be happening because I don't want it. It's not desired, so it shouldn't be happening. Well, the thing is, it is happening. So you just have to be able to accept it. It's not preferred. That's totally understandable. It's not preferred, but you have to be able to accept it and say, okay. And then when you start accepting it and then put out the invitation of, okay, it's happening for a reason. So what can I get out of this situation? So any type of negative situation is there as a growth opportunity. And that's how I see it. You know, you can always look at negative situations as a growth opportunity. At the very minimum, it would just provide an opportunity for contrast of being able to be more clear about this isn't what I want. But oftentimes on the motherhood journey, it is an opportunity to trust in yourself more, to trust in your body more, to trust in the journey more, to trust in the divine timing of it more. Oftentimes those are the themes that keep coming through. And until you can anchor into that, into what I've just said, into that trust aspect, then the situation will just keep coming up and up and up. And until you fully accept that that's part of the lesson for you to be able to move forward in your journey, right? And so that's a really big way to help to release the limiting beliefs. Another one is what I talked about, what I mentioned is reframing, is can you rephrase the negative thought into something that's more positive, that's more supportive of how you want to move forward? And that's a very simple but very effective way of just shifting your mindset and shifting your perspective of what's happening. So it's like just putting on a different pair of glasses, and you're not changing the situation. You're just changing the way that you're viewing the situation. And when you change your perspective, then you can extract different things out of it, and then you can be able to move on.
I completely feel what you're saying about being on this journey with purpose. And, you know, that's part of the reason why I started my YouTube channel and also my business. And my business is helping women in the States or all over the world come to Korea so that they can get IVF at a more affordable rate. And Korea is pretty high tech and very advanced care when it comes to IVF and infertility treatments. And so I just thought it was such a great opportunity to be able to help other women have access to this where they wouldn't be able to in maybe California or other parts in the States. So I do feel like I have found so much purpose and growth in my journey. But at the same time, like I said at the beginning of our conversation, I do feel like I am identifying with it a little bit too much. So for somebody like me whose life is everything IVF, like I'm helping other women with IVF. I'm doing IVF right now. I'm doing a YouTube channel about IVF. What would you say is the best way for me to get out of this self-concept that I've set up for myself?
Well, I mean, I think it's fabulous that you're really being a beacon of hope for a lot of women because, yes, in the United States, it's extremely expensive and it's a numbers game. IVF is a numbers game. You have to do it enough times for it to be successful. And so to be able to give women the opportunity to go to Korea and take advantage of the services there, I think is fabulous. So obviously your entire world is revolving around that. And part of it is really having a little bit more distance, emotional distance, so that you're not completely tied into and were so keen and astute enough to be able to pick up on the identity of being an IVF patient. And so what I really encourage people to understand is that IVF is just seen as another tool. It's just another pathway. From spirit side, you don't get more brownie points because you're paying this much money for IVF and you're doing so much more. From spirit side, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's just another opportunity. And so people get very emotionally invested in it because of just the tremendous amount of resources that they have to put into it. And it's really difficult to hear, that you kind of have to treat it as if it was just another natural cycle, like you just trying to get pregnant naturally. You cannot attach to it where it's like it needs to be a certain outcome. It needs to come out a certain way. All it is just another opportunity to give myself a leg up. And whatever the outcome is, I will accept and I will just keep moving on. I'm not going to let myself get down on it if it's a negative outcome. And that's really the best way of looking at IVF. And it's kind of a hard pill to swallow because of just the cost, the time and energy.
Yeah, definitely the cost and time and energy and the toll that it has on your body.
Yeah.
It just feels like such a huge sacrifice. And I think that's the reason why us women who are going through IVF, we get so emotionally attached to the process and to this identity.
Yeah.
Is there a way for us to kind of detach from the outcome? Would you say that there's a way for us to kind of surrender and leave it to the universe?
Yeah, and I love that you brought up the word surrender because it is a surrendering process, because the only thing that you can control is your response to this situation, to the circumstance, right? You can't control the timing of it. That's completely out of your hands. The best thing that you can do is just to prepare yourself, so that emotionally and physically and spiritually, so that, when you are pregnant, you're able to handle the news. Because the other thing too is that oftentimes when people get the positive pregnancy test, when they've been on this journey for a while, they can freak out, right? And go like, oh my God, I'm pregnant, now what? And then they start, like, their mind starts kind of going down this, like, what if this happens? And what if that happens? I'm going to have to do these tests and da-da-da. And so the way to really emotionally detach, it's just really a practice of not needing the outcome to be a certain way, to do the IVF because it feels right. It feels like the right thing to do. And because it feels like the right thing to do, you're going to do it, but you're not going to be attached to how it's going to look like. So with emotional detachment, I prefer to call it emotional neutrality. I recommend people just practice it in other areas of their life, like at work or with their partner, with their friends, where they're not as reactive to the situation. And what it basically means is instead of trying to change the outward situation and instead of wanting other people to change, see if you can just move yourself away from the emotional connection to it, the triggering effect of it, and just be more centered and grounded. And so it's very much a practice where you have to be consistent with it. And then eventually, then you can apply it to something that's more emotionally charged, like the fertility journey. It is hard to start with the fertility journey because it is such a big subject for people. And so it's something that develops over time.
Emotional neutrality. I am doing my best to surrender and detach a little bit from the outcome, but it's so much easier said than done.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just a constant fight within my brain.
Yeah. The main thing really is that whatever it is that you're feeling, let me say this, because I think this will make it easier instead of like practicing the emotional neutrality, which is something that takes a lot of time. I think this will be easier. So whatever reaction that you have, whether it's fear, disappointment, frustration, or whatever, be aware of it, but don't judge yourself for it. Don't criticize yourself for it. Don't blame yourself for it, because that's what makes that situation not supportive of your journey. Because no matter how advanced you are in practicing surrender and, spiritual detachment, you're still going to get triggered because life happens, right?
Yeah.
And so then it's more about, can you accept those parts of yourself that you deem are not so perfect, right? It's about being able to accept the imperfectness of who you are and life without the judgment and the blame and the criticism that's usually directed towards ourselves.
Yes. Oh, I think I understand, because I used to be in a habit of suppressing all of my emotions and kind of forcing myself to be positive, even when I didn't feel like being positive. And suppressing all of those emotions, it actually, just made everything worse. So, I think I understand what you're saying. We just got to kind of acknowledge our emotions and our feelings and then let it flow through.
That's the practice of being in the present moment, of accepting whatever the present moment is presenting itself with, and accepting it. And if you can get to the point of even embracing it, then it becomes even more helpful, because once you embrace it, then it's like, then you can extract the lesson from it. If it's a negative experience, right? Then you can extract the reason why it's there, because it's not showing up just kind of willy-nilly for no reason. It's there to give you data and feedback, because the external world is just a mirror of what's going on internally. And so if you can just view it as data of like, okay, well, this isn't exactly the situation I like. What can I get out of this? What am I meant to get out of this? And then when you can do that, then the situation just softens and you can move forward.
Oh, I just met our first bloom baby.
Oh, that's fabulous. Congratulations.
Thank you. I feel like I'm somehow bringing babies into the world.
You are. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's always nice. But, I also wonder sometimes, like, am I going to be able to do this business, continue on with doing this business if it doesn't work out for me,
That's interesting. Okay, so then, because you're young, you're 41. To me, that's actually quite young, concerning, because I work with a lot of women in their mid to late 40s and some actually over 50. So you have to get into the identity. This is going to work. That's just the identity. It's going to work. I don't know how long it's going to take, and I'm okay with the timing of it. This is the divine timing. I just know that there's a reason why I want it so badly. And the reason why I want it so badly is because it is part of my highest timeline. And I just need to connect with that. So I would really highly recommend that you just move into the identity of, this is going to work. not necessarily the fertility treatments. I would just kind of open it up to maybe I'll just get pregnant naturally in between the cycles. Wouldn't that be funny? Kind of thing, right? It's like, damn it, I spent all this time and money on the fertility treatments and I get pregnant, and like, be okay with that. Just move into that identity. Because right now, what you just said was not grounded into, I'm going to get pregnant.
Yeah, I think that's a problem that I have. I keep trying to protect myself.
Yeah.
With the outcome. So I keep going back and forth between telling myself I will get pregnant,
Yeah.
and like demanding myself, my body, that, you know, it's happening to produce the good eggs and to conceive and carry. So I do tell myself that all the time, but it's always this kind of ping pong between that but I have to protect myself.
Yeah, and so that's the ping ponging back and forth, the wavering, that's creating a lot of static.
Yeah.
So an example that I often use quite a bit is just like an entrepreneur who wants to be successful, right? We, as an entrepreneur, at least I don't, maybe others do, I just assume it's going to be successful, right?
Yeah.
I don't think about, well, if it doesn't work, then, you know, what's going to, maybe certain tactics and certain strategies won't work. And I give room for that and I surrender to that. But I have this identity of this is a successful business.
Yeah.
And I just move forward just with that. And so this is the whole idea of your external reality is a mirror, is reflecting what's on the inside. And so if you're outwardly wavering, then it's reflecting that you're internally wavering. And then the universe is like, well, what is it that you want? It's confused, right? So there's an element of fake it till you make it. That comes into play. At a certain point, it starts to just sink in. Because like as an entrepreneur, like the first few years, it's tough being an entrepreneur because there's like no clients and you have to build up the business. Like, oh my God, you know, and the expenses are going up, right? Or creeping up and stuff, or exploding. But you don't let that stop you, right? And it's the same with this journey. It's just eventually you get to the point where you just accept it as part of your identity. But in the beginning, you kind of have to fake it a little bit. And so I would just really suggest that you really kind of have that in your mindset, because this is about identity work. It's very, very much about identity work. You can't be in the I'm trying to get pregnant, you know, mode. It's just, yeah, it's not working out the way that I had expected or I had envisioned, but it's okay because I know it's going to work eventually.
Yeah, having more conviction.
Yeah.
And just knowing, right? Just believing that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I have my moments when I am like that, and then I go back and forth.
And that's when you connect with your heart, because it's the mind that's telling you it's not possible, right? It's the ego aspect of you that's telling you it's not possible. If you keep connecting with your heart, then you're much more able to tether yourself to the vision.
Okay. Connect with my heart.
Because your heart's telling you it's possible. That's why you've been doing this over and over again, right? It's your heart that's keeping you going. Certainly not your mind.
I think the mind is everything that causes us suffering.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why you learn the detachment, is so you can understand what's true to who you are, what's authentic to you, and what's false identity. The false identity is generated by the ego and by the mind, but we tend to latch onto that because it's so loud and it's so obnoxious. You know? And so it's just like, but it's like, that's the whole pulling back into the heart. It's like, okay, there's a reason why, because we wouldn't want something that deeply if we didn't know that it was possible.
Yeah, true.
Right? I mean, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to create airplanes or whatever. It's whatever it is, right? It's like the things that you want, you have to believe that you can do it somehow. You have to believe that it's within your capability. Otherwise, you wouldn't have such a heartfelt desire for it. And you have to anchor into that and become very tethered to that, where it's unshakable.
sometimes the way that I convince myself is, oh, if I had just gotten pregnant right away, I probably wouldn't have focused so much on my business or helping other women as much. So maybe I just needed this time to continue my business to help other women. And that's what the purpose is.
I love
I have
that.
to focus in everything, because without purpose, like I feel so lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to find reasons for why.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why we're here, to have this human experiences, to grow, to expand. And
Yeah.
so, you know, for some people, it's going to be, for you, for other women, it's going to be their motherhood journey. For other people, it's going to be in a different area. Everyone has, you know, their difficult times, whatever their challenge is, right? So for some people, it's financial. Others, it's going to be relationship. For others, it's going to be some other health concern like cancer or something like that. So everyone's different in terms of what their challenges are. And I think if you can look at it, which obviously you are able to, if you can look at it from that perspective, as it's providing me opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
And if I can just accept it and embrace it for what it is, then you can use it in that way. It then becomes more fulfilling and productive.
I am still in the process of trying to figure out how to not be so fearful about the outcome.
Yeah. One thing that I teach my clients to really anchor into is that wanting to have a baby is because you're attaching a specific emotional experience to it.
Yeah.
Not everyone feels the same way about being a mother, obviously, otherwise every single mother on the planet would be happy and jumping for joy. That's obviously not the case. So each person has a different definition of what it means to be a mother. And so for you, identifying what that emotional experience, what you project it to be like. And then once you identify that, you know, for a lot of people, it's, you know, feeling the love and fulfillment and joy and contentment and the peace, right? Whatever that emotional constellation is, emotional experience is, when you identify that, then the work is to draw that experience into your present life without the baby. When you can do that without the baby, you become a frequential match to the baby. That's when you don't have an attachment, where the baby becomes a preference, but it no longer becomes a need. And that's where we need to move people to. As long as it's kind of a grasping, needing energy, it actually pushes the baby away further. Whereas if you allow yourself to just be open to it, and come what may, and you being so full in your current life without the baby, then the baby's just attracted to you. Like, oh, I see her energy. She's full of love. She's full of joy. She's fun to be with. I want to be there. Whereas if someone is presenting with a lot of fear and doubt and negativity, they can sense that. And it's not something that they're drawn to. I mean, we know that just in interacting with other people, right? We don't want to be around people who are negative, who complain, who are, you know, like, we would rather be around people who are very positive and uplifting and loving. It's the same concept.
Yeah, I really, really feel that. It's the same thing, I think, as, you know how when you lose your keys, and you're like, where are the keys? Where are the keys? Where are the keys? And you're just looking for the keys everywhere. And then and then you forget about it for a minute and start doing something else.
Yeah.
It shows up somewhere. So I almost similar to that.
It's very similar to that. I'm sure you and many of your viewers have heard of stories of, like, the women just kind of give up and then they get pregnant, right? Because they've let go of the need. That's what happened. And so then they just kind of created space for the baby to flow in.
They let go of the need.
It's the need that needs to be released.
The need that needs to be released. Okay, I will keep that in mind. I think one thing that I do know intellectually is just being in a state of gratitude. and being in a state of presence, like just appreciating the present moment. I feel like that would do wonders.
Absolutely.
Yeah, rather than stressing out about the future or being fearful about what might not happen. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, because if you're thinking about the future, right, by definition, you're not in the present moment. And the present moment is where you manifest, where you are able to create your reality. You can't do it by thinking about a future that hasn't happened yet. You have to be in the present moment. And being in the present moment means accepting where you are. You may not prefer it, as I said, but you're okay with it. And, and you realize that, there are seasons to your life. And sometimes there are going to be dark moments. And then other times there are going to be like the brightness and the joy of summer, of things blooming. And so being okay with that.
Yeah. Wow. That's really, I guess that's like the core of the lesson here. I will be a mom.
I would say right now, just say, I am a mother. Because the spirit baby is here with you. If you acknowledge that, because the thing is that for things that people want really badly, in this case, it would be babies. For some, it would be like relationships. For others, it would be finances, and others, health. They're pedestalizing it.
Yeah.
They're putting it on a pedestal. And when you do that, it automatically fragments it out of you. It separates it out from you. So the idea is to bring it into you, into the unification, into the wholeness of, this is who I am. We're all connected. I am a mother. Just because I want to be a mother, I am a mother. Like, I don't need to justify it. I don't need to defend it. It doesn't matter what the past history has been. I identify as a mother because that's what I want. And you have to knock it off the pedestal. Because it being on a pedestal automatically, by definition, means it's separate from you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It needs to be internalized as, this is just natural. Of course it's going to happen. I don't know when, but of course it's going to happen. Of course I'm going to be a mother. Yes. Of course I'm going to have a healthy and safe pregnancy. Of course my baby's going to be beautiful. All of that. So bringing it back into yourself. So it is who you are.
I think what you're doing is so amazing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's very fulfilling. And it's amazing to see the transformation in the women, to go from that state of anxiety to just being so open to life and just loving life, even though the baby isn't here yet.
Yeah.
And that to me is success. To be able to live life to its fullest, regardless of how it's showing up.
Yeah. How did you start this path, this business?
I've actually been working with fertility clients for 25 years now. And so I started as a fertility acupuncturist, and then I started going more just because of my own inner development, because I was on my awakening and spiritual journey. And so I unfolded it into my practice, and then I love it so much. It's so powerful that I just completely dropped acupuncture and just went all into energy work, manifestation, to mindset, to releasing limiting beliefs. Because really, I think that is the critical piece that most women are not seeing or aware of, who have been having a lot of challenges. And so they're doing all the physical stuff, but they don't and it's just because no one's really talking about it. They don't realize there's this whole other pieces that they could be actually unfolding into their journey as well, to help them optimize their success. And that's the internal landscape, the mental, emotional landscape, not just the physical.
Have you seen a lot of your clients have success with pregnancy after?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There are testimonials on my homepage. Almost all my clients are over 40 now. And there are maybe a couple that are in their late 30s, but they're all in their 40s. And so the thing I would say about working with women in their 40s is it's a longer process. Yeah. And so that is the one thing that, I don't think age is the limit, because you can transcend that. You can overcome the age. It doesn't have to be an issue. The age is as much of an issue as you make it to be. So the more of an issue you make it to be, the more of an issue it will be. And so it's not so much the age is the issue, it's really about how much they're going to let their fears prevent them from being able to even imagine the future, because they don't want to be disappointed. So they don't even imagine a future with a baby, right? And if you can't even imagine it in your mind, there's no way that the universe is going to know what it is, what to work on. You have to put in your order. It's like ordering at the restaurant. You got to put it in and then trust that the chef has gotten it and is working on it. And that's part of the surrender, going back to the surrender. You just have to trust that that's already happening, and, you know, and be able to receive the baby when the baby's done.
Thank you so much for sharing all this with me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I feel so grateful because you have such a calming energy too. So yeah, it's just such a calming, I don't know, Zen energy. So
Thanks.
Okay. Oh, I should probably, so I'll put up your handles and your social media and everything on the screen.
Yep.
And I'll also put up mine. So for anybody who wants to subscribe to you or follow you on Instagram or join your Facebook group.
Yeah.
And then I will also put up my handles as well. If any of your clients or subscribers are interested in getting IVF in Korea, then they can reach out to me at bloomkorea.co. So I'll put that all on the screen. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That's great.
I hope you guys got a lot out of that conversation, because my gosh, as I was editing this video, I just kind of felt like I was being coded all this wisdom into my brain. And I mean, I'm really going to apply a lot of the things that she said, because her advice was so powerful. And I'm already applying a lot of it, like emotional neutrality and, you know, just having complete acceptance for what's going on in the real world. I think a lot of the times I tried to push things away and like shove them under the rug, but I think her advice is to completely accept what's going on, but not to be so triggered by it, and to practice. It's a practice. It's not like something that you do once and then you're done. It's definitely a practice. I really do feel like I'm already seeing some changes in my life after adopting this new mindset. So I really hope that it helps you too. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And please share this video with somebody that you feel like might really get something out of it. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys soon.